in the European League, the main preference map for G2 was Bank, and they lost it every single time. So, you know, sometimes preferred maps don't really mean that much. In this case, it could. Again, it's a map of fundamentals, and that means that whoever has those pinned down a little bit better than the other and might bring in some innovation to the mix is going to find themselves a bit victorious.
Yeah.
Now, we are seeing different bans on this clubhouse, like we've seen yesterday, not in this group, but for a different game. Yesterday, it was very, very, very attacker-sided in terms of the bans, due to the fact that no Heart Breachers have been banned. Thatcher was even open, allowed to be played. We're seeing a bit of a change now. Cade banned, Hibana banned, more like clubhouse bans that we're used to see. So this should be a bit more even if you look at just operator bans.
You would hope, I think, in this sort of setup, because you have funky bans from time to time. Bandit in the bottom right, as highlighted, was the funkiest that we sort of saw. He's instantly on the board here. For a site you wouldn't really expect Bandit, I'm going to assume they're going to do a very tall extension here, get themselves all the way up to CCTV and sort of lock walls there, and maybe try and waste some time of MNM's game. It's a risk strategy, but
the thing is, right,
it's a lot of dedication.
Would you bring Thatcher knowing Cade is off the board if you're attacking the basement? I don't think you would. Right?
No.
You need to figure out, okay, there is actually going to be a bandit out here playing on that top floor before you realize, okay, maybe we need a Thatcher in that case.
It's just, I guess I want to see how dedicated they are to holding it. Are they just going to sort of lay these bandits and hope that it adds an extra 30 seconds of slow, which if that's the difference, make you run the numbers? Or look at this change. We now have Candelas, Iana, Nook. They've gone for something a little bit more explosive. They might just cut this in half and maybe ignore how much of a player is being put on the top, or see if they can strike. Look at this hold. They have the banner in CCTV, they have the player on rafters. It's almost like they're sort of baiting a play here with this setup.
I mean, there might be, and MNM right now figuring out as well the need to get... That was a good grenade if Perez stayed in position, but he swung on Tyre and took him out. It's going to be a very early loss here for MNM. Solotov will fight back though, finds one. Takes damage from a second source, but stays alive. Patoxy is looking to go for a challenge though, but he needs to be careful because you do not want to give away your number advantage at this point. Yes, it's 4-4, but you do have the HP. You are the defenders. Time is in your favor. If you give out more bodies now towards the attack, they are going to be able to play that trade game. They will be able to force themselves onto the actual site and maybe push a bigger advantage as a result of it.
This is where I talked about they might just try and cut this in half. You have Solotov wanting to sneak his way down the site stairs itself. There's still Ion up on this top corner. Basetto's pulling himself down, back across dirt. He's realized there's nobody to get a straight strike onto. Patoxy's watching over the stock hatch. So Perez has to rotate down if he wants to take it. Is he going to go for the run out? He's just going to hold the angle. The pressure's onto stock side. Nello, he's either side. Solotov goes down in the meantime. There's Basetto. The shotgun drives its way up the stair set itself. Look at this. The Bandit and the Wamai either side. They're wanting a fight. There's the strike onto Ion. Nello's not going to sit around and find out what happens next because he expects more of pressure.
A man down now on the attack, but it's not going to be the end of the world. However, we are down in that basement site, and time has always been an issue here for attacking teams. It is just... well, really crowded. You need to do a lot of preparative work. You need to clear the top floor, the first floor, then open up the hatches, see if you can maybe edge out an opening somewhere which you can use to truly, well, open up that gap a little bit more than it already was. But Iron still being on that roam, it's going to be crucial as Patoxy almost gets banged through the floor.
Good pings, good intel, almost got a bit of a strike on the back of it, and, well, for what I thought might have a bit of pace, it seems MNM were slowed down. The Black Dragon's hold here has worked perfectly. It's sort of stretched the early brains and early games and day here of MNM. They sort of found themselves a bit scarred, but they still have everything to try and drive through the rust. They're watching it, but Ion with the swing round, gets one, gets two. Is he going for the third? He just misses the tail end, but still gets it, Nello. Caught out by the Bandit, and well, what I thought was a read on the hold was unfortunately the wrong language book. It's in Portuguese.
Yeah, it definitely didn't translate out well there, as they hoped to bring in some pace, but did not have the utility needed to take care of those roamers, who really were a big issue there. I mean, there was some early strikes going through, there was some aggressive swings later on as well, which just no answers able to be given out by MNM. And as Solotov managed to find a refrag, he instantly wanted to go a bit more aggressive, like they needed to take something. It is that basement. It is a 4v4. You need to turn that body count into your favor. So he heads down towards those main stairs and gets picked up by a shotgun. It's unfortunate. He tried to make something work. Unfortunately, it bit them back. Now they can reset. It is going to be CCTV. It is going to be that main bomb site we have seen so many times on a map like Clubhouse. And that is the reason why a lot of attacking teams know exactly how to approach this. Again, for you, if you are new to Siege, first of all, welcome. But let us explain that step-by-step plan. It usually revolves around taking out the wall on the east, which is a direct entry towards CCTV.
Yeah, that's step one.
And after that, you take control of Garage. You have an opportunity to plant from there on. Basically, you do not need anything more than that. Usually teams do extend, though, to put up some pressure towards construction, maybe even into launch as well to stop any C4s from happening, but that's the more advanced version of the basics.
Bandage tricking. In this day and age, in this weather, in this economy, more likely than you think. Yeah, there was a hot ping there. They sort of did that just to make the statement of Nade saying, we know you're doing this, don't expect to be able to do this for long. There's the play. The Bandit moves back into position. They're prepped on how they're going to do it, one either side. The impact EMP goes a bit early. It catches off one, but the Selma does what it needs to. They're always going to get that wall open.
So I was saying, they need a second hard breach there. If you're only going with a thermite, the bandit trick can be successful. If you're opening up with two, it's never going to be quick enough to actually take him out. Hot Pink's coming through onto the mezzanines right now. That's going to be the next step for MNM to take care of. Just that player out there. Perez takes a lot of damage from the actual breach that has been made. And now it's tasked to him to stay alive as Neo has completely opened up that wall now. Garage is getting opened up as well to put up some extra pressure towards that mezzanine player. And as the Monty is starting to push up, MNM is doing exactly what they need to get a plant down later in this round.
I mean, that's it. With the damage the Jaeger's taken as well, he almost has to play this a little bit more cautiously. The pressure's coming over to the side of Paceto, who's been able to get in with the shotgun before the pre-fires connect to Selma underneath. But look at the player around stock in pit. Solotov finds Paceto. I don't know if they just got hyper-aggressive there with the shotgun. There's the ping. Neo might get caught out by the stock player, but it's Tyrant that has the cover. Will there be the swing over pit? It's Patoxy, and they're not going to risk the fight. They pull themselves back, suffering the end. Suddenly, two players on site. MNM knows the call there on the top of red, and they're going to see if they can stick the kit in the meantime. Nello, he's stuck face down. Patoxy in the big rotate round on the back end. BD's had to rebuild, but it's a post plant. Nade, he's going to try and step himself in. The C4's a little bit too late. Nello is now a door, and a pretty impossible one to pass at this point. It focuses all of MNM's gunfire onto a single route through. Neo's watching the back line. Solotov out on the rappel. The cover there on towards the plant itself. Really, this is MNM's to fudge up.
Yeah, and I don't think they will. It is going to be just a single door. You mentioned it before. There is a rappel. There is the Monty still on site. You also have someone in garage. It's almost impossible for MNM to lose here as Nello's decided to go a bit funky with the actual pistol. And Solotov with that final kill. I think that the first kill we saw onto Paceto on the smoke actually came through that drone hole as well. Which really opened it up because that smoke carries so much utility to delay that plant ever so slightly. And I don't think any calls came through. I mean, Nade had the opportunity to use a nitro cell, but he didn't hear the plant going down, I think. And that is, like, as soon as that plant went down, he tossed it into the default spot, but Netlo already in that door with that Monty blocking any passage. Wasn't going to be hurting him anymore at that moment in time. So 1-1, MNM has equal up the score. We're headed towards gym and bedroom next, the other top floor site. Now, this one becomes a bit more favored for a lot of teams lately. Of course, first of all, due to the fact that CCTV is going to be such a step-by-step plan, it's almost impossible to lose if you're an attacker and you follow those steps to the letter. Gym is a bit more different. It's a bit more of a tough spot to get through as an attacker. A lot more positions to hide in that bathroom in the center of those two bomb sites as well. A difficult position to clear every now and then. What I think will happen is that they'll just, again, breach onto Jacuzzi, and then they will use some of those Selmas to try and get into that bathroom. But if Nade is going to be playing in there with those bandit charges, it is going to be almost impossible to breach through. So they will have to use some extra utility to clear him out.
One apiece. MNM. they found the sweetness of the fudge and get the response pretty much instantly. Usus is going to roll with the Thatcher. We talked about it before, and Nade's going to see if they can keep playing this bandit trick game. I mean, it's a dedication to fundamentals. We talked about how good Black Dragons were at it before. Fundamentals can be played against Club more than any other map, I would say, because it just got taught, learnt, and sort of dedicated early. There it is. He's going to go for the deploy. He's going to sort of make the statement. They're still playing around it, though. How do you catch this player? There's still roots.
Well, that's the thing, right? It is not impossible to stop a bandit player out here because you have that window that is inside of Jim, looks all the way down towards that wall, which makes it quite hard. But Toxi has a good read onto Yana being prone right next to the pool table. Tyrant is in quite a bit of danger, and he doesn't even know it. He hasn't checked for that black eye. So they might actually go for a bit of a wallbang attempt right here. Nade is quite next to it, but they need to be careful. It's the punch through from the Aruni together with the MP7 spray down, and Tyrant loses his life early on, but grenades are coming in from below. Solotov is not actually going to find Basetto, but deals a little bit of damage.
Yeah, they're looking for this pick. They're almost hoping Basetto leans back into it. How patient are you? Oh, not patient enough. He's going to instead put the pressure on. The pressure of time is on his mantle. There is a player tucked not too far away from the hatch itself, and Patoxi's watching. Just safe from the angle. There's the reveal. There's the play from underneath the call of the grenades. It's a very well-placed camera, and there's a very well-placed drop. Patoxi was watching, hit the hatch, hit Solotov.
Second kill now coming through on the back of a black eye. So really using that information game well here on Black Dragons. They kind of need to deal with that with MNM for the next round, as Iron will be taking down users now as well. It's only going to be up in a 2-on-5 situation. Almost going to be unwinnable, especially since it's only Neo left. Now, he has an opportunity. Either go for the play or maybe see if you need to have a little bit of a chat, see what's going wrong, see if there needs to be any changes to push up. For now, it seems like Neo wants to go for the actual fight. He finds one, but himself only in about 5 HP. Everything will kill him, and it will be Perez in the end with the AEG to shut him down, putting Black Dragons back in the lead.
I mean, I guess that's the thing. You'll sort of highlight how the Valkyrie was such a big effect there for them. Maybe it was a false sense of security that if they're playing this bandit trick, they'll be talking about the fundamentals. Hey, push the boat out. Rotate things around it, be that extra sort of modicum of pressure. It was played very, very well there by BD. They're a team that does like to lean in to engagements. They're a team that isn't cautious or isn't as scared as other teams might be, and it works well because all of them can gun. All of them have been gunning.
Now, MNM haven't quite brought out the IQ, which would be your go-to counter to a Valkyrie, as you can just see those black eyes through the wall, ping them out for the rest of the team to take out. Instead, they have gone for a different approach. Tyrant is going to go onto the Nuck. Of course, an operator that can basically make herself invisible to any cameras using the Hell presence scanner, and uses going over towards the Dokkaebi. Now, if Dokkaebi uses her gadget, the Logi Bomb, it is going to be kicking everybody off cameras, which means that if they want to go for a bit of an execute, if they are doing some important work, and I'm not sure if they're getting spotted, you can just use that. No one can check cams. Even dead people now are going to be kicked off, and because they're dead, they cannot actually turn off that phone. But more importantly, you have the opportunity to hack those cameras if you manage to get a defender early on. And that means that you're able to find these spots these black eyes are in, take them out if you need to, or even use it against them if the opportunity arises. Now, all that being said, a top-down approach needs to come in from MNM. We are back into that basement. They need to make sure that the top floor and the first floor are going to be cleared before they're starting to do their prep work. The issue is, though, 2 C4s on the side of Black Dragons. Those will be used in tandem with those Valkyrie cams.
Tyrant, is he going to be able to find this loose firefight? The thread is the trust on, once again, well-hidden Valkyrie camera is going to be something that either takes the Nook by surprise or has the reverse effect. Solotov's on the hunt and probably doesn't know that they're just being washed at this point. We saw where those cams were, but that's the benefit of being in our position. MNM, they're not taking things by chance, though. Sees the reveal, sees the pings.
Pre-placed C4 is currently in the kitchen, so that is what Patoxi is watching for near the hatch. They're hoping to find a player that is going in with a Heart Breach gadget, and it seems like Neo is going to be the player to do so, as he's just opened up the door. Solotov is still opening up on some of the flooring right next to the kitchen right here to put up some extra pressure, but that C4 has already been placed, and as soon as he moves through that freezer, he's going to get blown into pieces, so Neo needs to be very careful here.
That's it. They're going for the bit of the extension. They have the buck as well. Nello can open up some of these angles without the threat of that pop there, and you can see he's the one that's stepping in. The pings are on that C4. They know it's there. They're sort of just trying to get rid of it, but still present.
Smart.
The EMP, very smart. There's a way of getting rid of it there directly. It won't be able to pop just yet. It's gone. That drone is giving them everything, but 2 minutes gone. They're finally starting to maybe put some pressure onto the hatch itself. Nello's going for the pop with the Heart Breach gadget. They're going to rotate their way back round. Ion's still watching down the main corridor.
A good use of the Impact EMP there to make it a bit safer to take care of that C4, so he can actually do the work he needs to do. Hatch open up. Tyrant unfortunately dies though, as Solotov finds a trade as Batoxi to lean back into the fight, leaving it in a 4v3. Still in favor of Black Dragons, and with 30 seconds left, MNM, they need to make a small miracle happen.
That's it. They're now going to see if they can try and hit on the back door. They still have 2 of the Heart Breach gadgets and the Pocket EMP if they want to pop open pipes. Neo, though, he's tucked above with those 2 gadgets. He's looking to roll these Candelas down. They're going to go for the drop on the plant. 17 seconds, and they got to do it now. The roll comes across. The blinds either side. They're in the corridor. Patoxi gets caught by Users. The drop comes across the board. The bow. The pre-fire on the angle. The one on dirt. Users with one more. They're tucked onto blue, but you got to hold F Nello. He's going for the fight. The kick goes cold. 1 player left. Basetto locks in around. MNM almost clutched, but a single missed moment.
Not able to go for the plan there. They knew there was too many players still around. That's why you saw the diffuser go aggressive. And even though they had such good information earlier on, Emmy, where they knew exactly where the C4 was, they dealt with it appropriately. They did not have the information about the 1 player in dirt, and that is what cost them that round just now. Black Dragons lead 1-3. And with that, they are starting to climb back into it. It's also the complete opposite from what we've seen from their game against the Sonics last night, when they were leading in on their attack quite well, but the defense seemed to be lacking. It's now the other way around. Their defenses are doing quite well, but what does that leave for when they go over to the attack? Are they going to be as deadly as they were against Sonics last night? Because that would spell a lot of trouble for MNM. But again, we mentioned it, 5 points is what they need to qualify themselves for the Six Invitational taking place in February next year. That is their goal in this major, of course. Like, besides winning it, right? Because everybody
you want to win it.
Their side objective, the side quest, is to qualify themselves for the Six Invitational.
I mean, that felt the first round where we started to get a bit of that MNM gunplay that was so big for them yesterday here. It seems like Black Dragons have just come into this game a little bit sharper. Obviously, they have the benefit of starting on defense. They have that working in their favor. They can sort of lock themselves in. Yeah, that was a very late deploy there of that Frost Mat. If there was a ping, that would have been a kill. Instead, it's the other way around. Tyrant caught out. Sophia gone. Ion still terrorizing across this middle floor.
Tyrant not having the best of games so far. He's been picked up in unfortunate ways time and time again. I mean, look at that. He was right in front of the door. Probably got shot underneath the planks a couple of rounds before he got shot down underneath the pool table due to a Valkyrie cam being out there. Black Dragons is really good at shutting him down so far. He's not been able to have the best of impact. Whereas only currently Solotov that is really showing up. Talking about him, he takes down Patoxi as well. Trying to take stock of the control, finds Iron as well. So he's really just dragging MNM across again, just like he did in the 10 AM game yesterday.
I mean,
he really thrives in this situation.
Solotov and Cocktails, you need him. They need him, and I think the UK scene and all those watching for me, you need him right now as well. If there is anybody that's standing up to the energy of Black Dragons, Solotov is that man for the moment. They've got to build behind it. Perez, a real off-piste position here at the top of the ramp. That breach is going to make things maybe a bit dangerous for him, but Black Dragons kind of thrive in that danger. They love to still hold these angles. They want to see if they can get the surprise strike of the expectation, but expectation isn't a game Nello's going to play with. There's the ping on the player. The reveal of the Frost Mat to slow the potential approach there of, obviously, any Monty that wants to roll its way up. The breach, the width on the wall itself makes things a bit more awkward again for that top rafters player. If they can isolate that, then suddenly it's a 4 versus 2. Here comes the Monty. Surely they know about the Frost Mat.
drone it out himself. He should be aware he's not going to be stepping up all the way. Needs some support, and that's exactly it. Users needed to take down Perez, so he can take out of the frost mat, and that is going to be exactly what
drone hole!
Again, Basetto dies through that drone hole. Second time in a row to playing CCTV. MNM really just showing why this side is seeing less and less play from the actual defenders, because it is such a, well, clear-cut attack you can go through. The big worry now, though, is that time is ticking down, and Nade is finding themselves near the main door. He has that Nitro Cell still in pocket. He can use that to stop a default plant from happening. Neo currently not in the building yet, but he definitely will be soon, and that's exactly what MNM needed to do. Just drop someone down, contest the launch. They definitely know Nade is out here now. He cannot use that Nitro Cell. Solotov shuts him down, and it's going to be another MNM round.
I mean, Solotov, huge round there. As I said, they sort of need the energy there. Attacking early doors, it felt like, or has felt like, Black Dragons have just, they've hit the pace a bit quicker in this game, this showdown. If it starts to turn into something where MNM does get some energy behind this, get the round, if they find themselves tied up even half, that's a lot to work with on their defense. It is club. You can have that sort of growth, and as we said and saw before, Black Dragons are pretty good on their attack when they want to formulate it. It was the first half where they got the 5-1 against Sonics before everything fell apart on the defense. So there is still this pace, there is still pressure here from MNM. They want to try and do as much damage to pull it even on this, the third round, in our first bar.
I did say as soon as the operator bans came through, 3-3 is what I expect to come out of this, right? Because the bans are a lot more defense-sided now, with Hibana gone, Maverick gone, Cade gone. It is just harder to hold or like open up these walls for the attack. You're limited in the tools that you're able to bring. But as we're headed towards that top 4, walls will not really be an issue, at least not for the direct sight. You will still want to open up into CCTV or Jacuzzi because you need to take care of the top for control due to the fact that verticality is so important for this side. If you do not have it, planting will become almost impossible due to the fact that there is going to be so many opportunities to shut them down. I like this, bringing out the IQ to get rid of the black
called
eyes.
for it earlier.
I called for it earlier. They went for a different approach with Nuck, and Dokkaebi didn't really work out, so instead the straight up IQ is what they're going for.
The break over the top, there's no sort of trickery that pulls against it. Obviously, we saw a bandit in the opening 3, and since then they pulled themselves away from it, even on sites where you wouldn't really expect it. This is definitely a site where you wouldn't really expect it, and probably the least fortuitous of all of them. Look at this, though. Solotov. Deep drive right through the kitchen itself, which is usually a bit of a lock-off. That castle gives him that width and that swing. It's a power point and a bit of a pillar over a lot of the holes that we see of this site, especially in the EU region. So to them, it's sort of free real estate. Let's take it, let's lock it down. You still need to get this verticality. And Black Dragons are trying to get a bit aggy inside of it. They drive themselves back across. Tyrant's going to find a fight maybe sooner than he thinks.
You have to be careful with that kitchen, though, because if that falls back into the hands of the defenders, you're going to find yourself in a troublesome position. Tyrant finds Patoxy. I was going to say that gunfight is about to be taking place, and that is the entry. Might actually force the remaining players to fall back a little bit, because Perez is now finding himself all alone in that cash room, with MNM basically having the opportunity to collapse all around him.
Do they know, though? That's the big play right now. We saw Perez rotate his way back into that situation. If he's tucked on a corner and he goes unchecked, it can be dangerous. It's a game, it's a vertical game, and Basetto is the one that's being forced down from it. Pre-fires, and Solotov keeps the rain and the train on for the previous round, pulls out of there before he gets taken from that verticality we talked about. Nade, he's doing his best just to pick that angle. Ions there for the double up as well.
MNM is not looking to take top floor control here, Emmy. They're all down onto that ground floor. They just want to go and try and force a plant whilst covering up these hatches. It is possible if the cover is on point. The smoke canisters are coming through. Nello's going to be planting right inside of it. Yes, this is going to be an indication that it is happening, but 45 seconds should be on the clock soon. Users will die. That might give them the security, but it's not going to be there.
Yeah, Ion took the drop and just sprayed at the mass. He saw in the smoke. It was the cover, and he doesn't need it. Nello gets one on the way out the door. Nade hits the floor, but gets removed by Neo, having a wonderful time in the strip club. But now he's got to see if he can swing over into the defense. A 3-3 half, as you called it, based on the bans. But I think now might be that true taste of have MNM started to wake up, and can Black Dragons keep the pace up?
That's it. I mean, I would still say 3 rounds on the attack if you're just starting out and, you know, the opponent was a bit sharper than you were at the start of that game, is definitely still going to be considered quite good for MNM. They can be happy with that. Especially going over to the defense now. The basement, it's not a guaranteed win, but it is a very high percentage of defense wins coming through. You have the opportunity to play that twice. Let's just say you win that twice, it's 5-3 already. You just need to find 2 more rounds in different sites. Now, whether or not they will play CCTV, that is remaining to be seen, but for now, it is going to be that bottom floor we start off with. Have to say, like the MNM actually went for a straight-up horizontal take. They had the 2-minute advantage. They knew the remaining players were going to be playing that from the top floor because they cleared out everything on the horizontal level. What do? You use smoke grenades. You make sure that cover is going to be on point because there's only going to be 2 drop points they can use. And it worked out quite well. Usually what you see is that teams that are attacking try that approach with a man less. That's why it doesn't work. MNM managed to make it stick. But now they're on the defense themselves with a very heavy roam on that top floor, it seems. So they will be running into Black Dragons quite early on.
Well, here's their chance to start trying to put a bit of a distance between them. We're all squared up once again for the first time in a while. And it's going to be a Thatcher-full approach here, straight through towards the top floor. Neo takes the drop early. Tyrant wants to get a strike. Solotov is prepped.
Double jump out.
On a prepped window. And, well, there's the punch. There's the first reveal. Ion's tucked on the corner. The knock of that. Solotov pulls himself actually away at that time. I think he got caught on a drone and didn't want to risk it. There was the read. There's the ping. And there's Solotov and users both winning out, even whilst droned and checked. The guns of the UK start firing alongside the compatriots from the relevant countries. And EU, they're able to get a quick strike back on a drone checkout.
I was going to be saying, like, where did all these kills come from? I mean, I saw some Black Dragons players actually being inside construction already, which, I mean, it wasn't completely drawn out, so they must have just trying to make a play happen, try and see if they could make a kill go their way. Instead, they've lost 3. And Patoxy now just decides to go for the side directly, but it seems like they know. There's 4 players stacking up on him. He's not being given anything here. Tyrant takes a lot of damage, but it's only up to Nate now. The diffuser is still dropped outside. He's not even going to go for the recovery there. Okay, he actually is. 80 seconds left on the clock. Plenty of time for him to work with here, but there's just so many players still around on MNM.
All 4 of them.
They knew he was in oil pit.
Yeah, I think they knew. I think they got the read there, Nook. I'm sorry to say.
5 players around Nate now as well.
Yeah, 5
He's dead.
5 players around. MNM, if any team is prepped for this specific situation and how not to mess it up,
yeah, okay,
this is the team. MNM, a flawless opener here. They were able to 3 different players, 3 different engagements, 3 different kills. And fair enough, a timeout requested by BD. 3 rounds lost in a row, including a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, that 3-1 lead hurts more. I think that then when they were on the defense, that might have been when they needed to call that tactical timeout. This was just the first attack, which just went south really quickly. And we are not sure what happened because, like, we flicked away and 3 people were dead within a second. That's basically what happened. Not quite sure what happened. Maybe they went for an aggressive push and all got punished at the very same time. Those things happen. That's unlucky. But maybe there was a communication issue. Maybe it was a mistaken call coming through. They just need to reset. They just need those 45 seconds to find themselves back in that pace they were in the early game because they do not want to let MNM run away with this game. Because, again, if MNM runs away with this one, I mean, they won't be confirmed, but they are getting really close to being confirmed. I believe it was 92% I saw on the graphics earlier on. Just spread around the building when they were doing the tech rehearsal.
All right. Will it be enough to sort of have a reset? A very quick one, as you said, after not much truly being tested on this other side.
Again, Solotov is really having a great game here. 11 kills currently. The man, he thrives in these 10 AM situations.
He loves it.
It's like, okay, guys, like we've always seemed to be struggling with 10 AM games, and then Solotov is like, don't worry, I'll just become a god at early games.
Yeah, maybe that was the thing, because obviously they sort of said, we've got this 10 AM problem. They still had the 10 AM problem when they sort of tried to fix it. So instead of focusing the resources and getting all 5 ready for 10 AM,
what about just Solotov?
All 5 get Solotov just ready for 10 AM. Release the beast, let him tear up 10 AM games. Problem solved.
Yeah. I mean, the problem started to get less in Berlin, we have to say that, but if they win this one, that is definitely going to be the curse completely broken. I would dare to say, dubbed that way. Solotov waiting next to the window on the small side stock, hoping to go for a bit of aggression. I believe that is a soft wall spotted out. Nate is willing to go a bit aggressive here. He's waiting until he's up on the plateau before they breach it open. Because you don't want to do that when you're still repelling. Prize opening up the hatch into logistics as well. There is still plenty of cameras being watched by the MNM players. Just trying to figure out where exactly they are all coming from. On the side of Black Dragons, but it seems like CCTV Couch is going to get that first touch of love, but there's no one out there from MNM.
I was going to say, it seems like one of the things that you estimate... the team talk is caution, and caution pays off. There it is. Obviously, the last time to have 3 people die in a very quick succession from 3 different people means you're going for a wider execute. This was so much more focused. They made sure that they had the watch on multiple different angles. It's a better change from the previous attack ground that we saw here. They're not going to let MNM have a freedom. And they're not going to sort of, you know, treat them as a team where you can solve the problem 5 at a time. You have to sort of isolate. You have to isolate, cut off. Otherwise, MNM have this ability to throw a second player into the mix when you don't really expect it.
Solotov throwing away his life early there. Of course, he wanted to go for a jump out, but literally all 5 players of Black Dragons were around them, so it's not going to be successful at all. But that is going to be putting Black Dragons into that man advantage. They just need to use that now, utilize it, go for the trade game, try and force these gunfights to go your way. Late reinforcement there in construction is going to stop them from truly moving into logistics. Yes, the hatch has been opened up, but never mind. Perez is actually moving out there. I was going to say there's no one out there to actually pressure it, but someone just moved over to make sure maybe some grenades will bounce around the corner.
Obviously, we've talked about the implications for SI and MNM. It's not quite the same for Black Dragons, but it's also worth sort of noting if they do not pull the win on this game, or OT, there is a chance that they'll fall to the bottom of the group. Depending on the result that happens on the other stream, they find themselves joint, technically, points-wise at the bottom. They're in 3rd because of round difference. Now's their chance here to maybe keep the fight going. Tyrant suffers the second follow-up, and he's taken care of by Ion. He keeps biting in. Perez right down onto logistics. C4 does catch him and buys some of that room back and the first body for the side of it. But Nello is watching Neo underneath the hatch, wants to get the catch. A perfectly played flash there inside the site. Misses the play. The runner roams all the way through. They're inside the back of the gym, getting the plant. The pings are coming through. Nello cannot quite get the connection. Basetto is going to get the plant stuck. And with the trade out, leaving just Neo underneath, it was a very well put together strike by Black Dragons.
Neo having to move off, watching that window there is actually what lost around there for MNM. If he was able to stay on there and actually shut down the planter as they move through, there was going to be a fighting chance for them to actually, well, stick in it and maybe take out that round. But that early loss of Solotov, that really comes back and allows Black Dragons to just muscle through. Mentioned it before, they can play that trade game. They can really just toss an extra body into a gunfight and hope for the best of it. That brings us to 4-4. Jim not working out, MNM avoiding CCTV for now, headed towards bar and stage.
Attackers need to locate
hoping to see if they can find a success there. Again, verticality, important here. MNM will be setting up accordingly. I mean, you already see the castle barricades to come through to lock it off as much as possible horizontally, so you don't give them any free entryways. They need to utilize utility to get through. Luckily for them, there is going to be a sledge on the board, so technically it shouldn't be that much of an issue. But if you have the opportunity, you want to... Oh, never mind, sledge getting taken off. This might actually be a very quick push coming through. If you look at it this way, they might just open up the door, put down an Ossa shield, have someone watch over the hedge and construction from that balcony, and try and force a plant like that.
It is one of the things that we talked about with Black Dragons on their approach. They take the space they need to execute.
Yes.
They're happy to do that. They don't try and fight for the whole site. We saw a similar thing, obviously, from MNM's take here, where they sort of didn't go for the verticality. They trusted that they could play behind the smokes. They did get 2 kills, obviously, before that, when they really felt, okay, now we can do this, but still... You have to have the awareness of where your opponents are. You have to have that locked in. This is always a chance of Roman rotation. Nello, the bandit, just going to lock off the top here and force them to do a bit of busy work and an engagement. At this point, Ion's just going to sort of wait for the support to come through. Nade's going to get a breach started on the back end. There is a Thatcher, so they should be able to get through the bandit without too much of a toothache.
I mean, they only can do that if they go for the double hard breach, which is exactly being set up right now. So there's going to be a bit of noise. Nello is going to be able to get the extra thermic, which is the biggest one of the two. So the breach has been limited quite a bit, leaving them down to 1 extra thermic and 1 Selma charge now for any other hard wall they want to open up. But they're not near the site yet. This is only the CCTV room. They still need to take control of the actual construction. That is another piece of hard breach they need to use and cannot afford to lose as we speak. So with that said, MNM, they've done some good work already.
Nello, he's going to stick around a little bit. Ion wants the width of the fight, but Nello knows he doesn't really have to take it. Nade, he's on the far end. He's prepping the cover on the jump outs. Fool me once. Well, you didn't. Solotov got caught, and you assume he's not going to be as aggro this early on. Patoxy, he's going to try and dig his way in on the Nook and does get caught out. Solotov, he has that awareness, goes for the strike, preps for the fight that starts to come through. Ion suffers on the breach itself, cannot make it happen. They can have the support of Nade over the cover of construction. They want to see if they can try and get the player to slip on by. Force them out of the situation, get the punishment, and Paceto, with the role of the Os, is going to see if they can try and move that. But at this point, Nello and Solotov have not been moved. He suffered, still has a C4 in pocket, and is going to try and actually rotate out with users offering the cover and support. Solotov is alone, but to be honest, they've still got to get rid of him, and that is not going to be easy.
All 5 players currently up on the top floor here for MNM. Solotov takes a lot of damage, has the opportunity to sneak out, but it is going to be the Ossa now, swapping over to the 5.56, gets that kill, and that is going to be cash under control for Black Dragons as well. But 40 seconds, Emmy, still need to be working their way down towards the side. There is someone going to be up on that balcony to actually cover the hatch, so there is going to be that opportunity. But players of MNM need to fall back now. They need to have an opportunity to actually go for a horizontal hold.
I mean, that's entirely it right now. There's still the hold on the hatch, the player out on the window. They know what's going to happen. The Os is set up the first to offer some cover from the range. The second is just going to slowly creep its way through. There is the player in the corridor, though. Just 1 C4 and 1 swing, and 1 Nello is able to take care of Paceto. The bubble watches. Nade gets the drop on the top of users, but they've got to pick up the kit and see if they can stick it. They go for the fight. The pre-fire connects. Able to take care of the player from range. Neo wins out over the top. There's a bulletproof. Going to see if it can try and get the catch. It's 1 more from the bottom to the top. And somehow, in and amongst the chaos, Black Dragons were able to make the connection, and Tyrant could not quite get into the position in time. This is a hell of a gun, but it's in slow hands, and that's a dangerous drop to try and make. There's 1 player right in front. There's an old ping. That could be the cost here. It's an easy pickup for Perez. Black Dragons pull ahead once again.
I was going to say, it's great they're retaking the top floor control, MNM. They could use the actual hatch to go for that cover, but the cover was there on Black Dragons before. They were going to be able to shut him down on that plant, and that is exactly how they managed to take control. And you mentioned it before, Emmy. Black Dragons, they take what they need if they want to go for a plant. That's exactly what they did there. They did not go further than construction because there was no need to go further than construction up on that top floor. Those players, they can stay up there. That's all fine. Then they open up, they put down those talent shields to try and cover out for the plant. Now, unfortunately, Nello has gone unseen for them, who managed to at least throw a spanner into the works, but not enough to actually lose the round for Black Dragons. So well done to them. Now 2 in a row. MNM having that 45 to chat and see what they need to improve on.
I mean, hey, it worked for their opponents. Since taking their time out 2 rounds ago, they've been able to win 2 and pull themselves back into the leads here. MNM know that they don't want to get to OT. They don't want to drop any more points. They want to take it as cleanly as possible. Black Dragons need everything they can from this game. We do not know the current result, or maybe the concluded on the other stream. But we know it matters massively because this is a group where barely anyone has a lead. Anyone can leapfrog pretty much anyone or equal at this point, from the bottom to the top.
Yeah, the difference between the bottom and the top is only 3 points.
It's 1 win.
And if MNM lose this one, they might just as well find themselves, well, not quite in last place, because that is not going to be happening, but at the end of the day, they could find themselves in the 4th position.
It is.
Which is weird, considering they were 2 wins at the start of the day.
It's traditionally MNM to get really close to success
and then just
and hold it for as long as possible, and then find success in the dying throws. They habitually, it's tricky being an MNM fan, I'll say that much.
They keep the excitement high. Let's say
and the blood pressure and the
even if it's a 5v1, you don't even know if they're going to win it.
Yeah. I mean, you saw it yesterday from them. You've seen Black Dragons you know, sort of return to this sort of stage. It's a lot of new names across the board with some old traditional ones as well. Trying to find a stick in a roster in a region. Both these regions had a record, I think, of about 6-2 yesterday.
Yes.
So both Latin America and EU have had very impressive lead-ins on the first day. Both these teams have found success yesterday. This was always, I think, going to turn into a bit of a bloodbath game.
I mean, it kind of has to at some point, right? Like, the regions are going to be meeting. They are going to be able to well, damage each other, their records. Siren has been drawn out. He's deciding to stick around on the main stairs here. Hoping to go for a bit of an early frag. Now, as he was going to be on the attack, he was the first one to be taken out many, many times before. He's hoping to return that favor, now playing on that Valkyrie.
Look at this. If we talk about Black Dragons sort of taking the bits that they want, it seems like Patoxy wants to go down blue with a bit of pace. They've obviously got Perez with the Candelas as a sort of running a route through. They were in the pocket of one proper execute of MNM that almost hit the mark, but it's been very quick here for Black Dragons to get themselves comfortable and controlling over at least some of the hatch possibilities. There's pings on the player. They are safe and uncontested for now. They don't want to go entirely for the swing. There's the reveal that they're heading their way around to the stair set, but MNM, they're all down here holding pretty flat.
They could just use an exothermic on the floor there. I'm not quite sure. I heard something explode. Either way, that's a Nitro Cell just tossed as a Hail Mary. He's not going to be getting anything. Would have been way better used, for example, on this hatch, which is opening up slowly. Could have actually maybe gotten a C4 kill out of it. It's not going to be happening. A minute left on the clock. Still all 10 players up and alive as Patoxy is eyeing up to go for a bit of an oil pit. They want to open up the triple wall. See if they can dig themselves in right behind the black box. But that is going to be difficult because Nello is still playing out there. So those Selmas should be stopped.
Usus gets the first. Paceto has the bite back, and it's tight all over blue. 3-3, and suddenly inside the box, spraying either side with an LMG that does not quit. Keeps going. Perez digs through. Patoxy gets one on the back, and suddenly Nello is all that's left. A blink of an eye and a rotate round to the main door. A great first take with a cold kit in 30 seconds. They do have the time in the 2 versus 1 to try and rebuild. The grenade rolls dangerously close to a man with a dangerous little amount of health. Perez gets the last. And Black Dragons, with a very quick execute, push themselves to map point.
But that's it, right? Like MNM, they gave them so much ground so early on. They really allowed Black Dragons to prepare themselves for that execute. Let them open up the hatches. No contest coming through. No C4s to try and slow that down. They were being tossed in as a bit of a Hail Mary, left, right, and center. And I mean, if you do not connect any of those or at least get close, or Black Dragons didn't even have to worry about them, basically. So they could just do what they wanted, toss in the Candelas and lead in right afterwards. They found a success, and they're now on match point. And MNM, who managed to come back in the second part of the first half and instantly led into their defenses with a very solid round, are now falling behind. Black Dragons is running away with this game, needing only a single more round to find themselves at a 3-pointer, and that would actually close the gap between them and MNM, which would mean they would be co-leaders for this group, depending on how that other result goes as well. I mean, you might just have 3 teams tied on 5 points at the end of this.
I mean, MNM, you came back from the deficit before, but Black Dragons' attacks have looked sharp. It was a compliment we paid them at the beginning of this. It was compliments we saw yesterday. If they go for these executes, all 5 of them can fire on in the right place at the right time. It'll take teams by surprise. You have to try and find a way to sort of push them into an awkward position, as you did in the one defense round that you won, MNM. That early opener, where suddenly you just leant back in, struck early, 2 stories away from the site itself, was the round you found. Because they have time to set themselves up and get a good thought down. It often turns to success.
Actually, a bit of pressure they wanted to put down from the logistics hatch. I believe it was Tyrant sitting up right underneath it, hoping for an opening to come through, potentially from a sledgehammer, but not the case. A lot of dies. Nate takes him out as he landed in aggressively, hoped to take down those Selmas. It's going to be a very early loss of both Solotov, but also the CCTV and cache area. So MNM really going to be confined now to 3 rooms around that bomb site that they need to hold on with their dear lives. But if you look at the time, 2 minutes left, Emmy, that is so much time for Black Dragons to just work around this opening kill they have.
I mean, that was it. That was a bit of punishment there. As you said, Solotov lent in with the confidence, but
Second time he does so as well and loses early on.
it's a risk. It's a gambit, it's a gamble, and it's one that hasn't paid off. Perez is watching underneath. Nade is going to start the pressure here towards construction. We can see the rotation from Black Dragons towards the opposite end, the windows itself as well. Users might have the lock on one of the main walls here, but the castle's steadily popping open. Who's going to be the one that has the catch on maybe a Black Dragon player? Users almost caught out just from Perez watching the rotation on the main stairs. And here it is. You can feel the space constricting around MNM.
Neo holding the jump in from the construction to logistics area. It's a bit of verticality there. If Black Dragons want to use it, they might be punished for it. But looks like they might be more interested in actually going direct through the windows. Iron takes a lot of damage from Nello. Doesn't quite lock off the kill. That would have been quite necessary for MNM. It would have been a bit of a relief, especially someone on the highway, because that window suddenly would have become playable.
They've pulled off. Obviously, the rotation isn't one that can be properly watched, but he's still going to try his best here and hope they don't go for the big open breach. The smokes by themselves a second at a time. Nello doubles in for the fight. Ion takes a bit more. There's the throw, the flash through. It's Nade that finds Nello on the swing round. Tyrant, he's trying to get the kill, gets the kick cold. 27 seconds, and they're tucking on every single door. The drop about to come through on logistics hatch. Tyrant wants to stack into the fight. Ion still watching over the top. The kit cold inside Jim is going to be something they've got to recollect. Neo, Protoxian users all the way across the board apiece. 15 seconds. Neo gets himself stacked over the top of the main stairs. The ping's hot and continual, but it's Perez on the door and Users down with the solo moment left. There on the swing, it's Perez that locks in the end of the back and forth, and Black Dragons are the team that takes the 3 points and find themselves slipping towards the 5 points that draws them at the top of the board.
Managed to find a bit of revenge.